Are you waiting for some cookie bones?
Hey Garden Maters, welcome to Corner Homestead. So, I am back with another recipe, and this time it is one for your pets. Did you forget to make them something for Christmas? Something that Santa will bring them? I've got the perfect recipe, and the beauty of it is it can be used for either your dogs or your cats. Doesn't matter what kind of furry friends you have. You can adapt this recipe to accommodate either one. Now, the recipe was originally from a veterinarian book many years ago that I found, and it was called Bowser's Biscuits. But again, you can adapt it for your feline friends as well. Over the years, I have used it for all of my animals, all of my dogs. And now, of course, because I have Shmoopie, I just call them Shmoopie Biscuits. So I'm going to show you exactly how to make them, and I'll show you what goes into them, and of course the recipe will be posted at the end of this video. But as I go along, I will show you how to adapt the recipe. So instead of giving you a full list of ingredients ahead of time, we're just going to go ahead and get right into it. Let's go. Okay, so we start out in this bowl. I have whole wheat flour. It is 2.5 cups of whole wheat flour. And to this, I am going to add 1 teaspoon of white sugar. It's just to give it a little bit of a sweetness for them, but you don't want to overdo it. Going to add about 1/4 teaspoon of salt. You don't want to put too much of that in there either. Okay, so the next ingredient is 5 tablespoons of margarine. You don't want to use butter because that is a little bit too fattening for your animals. With the margarine, just 5 tablespoons is perfectly fine. Going to add 1 egg. And now I have 1 cup, of chicken broth. This is just 3 bouillon cubes put into 1 cup of very hot water. So we're going to go ahead and add the chicken broth. This is for flavor. If you didn't want to use chicken, you could also use beef. But the recipe did always call for the chicken. Now, because you add the chicken broth, you may, which I'm sure I will, have to add a little bit more flour, because this is a dough that you roll out and cut. Okay, so you want to knead your dough. It's a very soft dough, but you want to knead it for 3 to 5 minutes until you get a pretty good ball to form. Okay, so this is how you would adapt the recipe to accommodate either your canine or your felines. You want, for the canine recipe, you would put in either your beef broth or your chicken broth if you desired. If you didn't want to use any broth at all, you would use 1/2 cup of skim milk instead, or non-fat milk. If you don't have regular milk, non-fat milk, you can use 1/2 cup of non-fat powdered milk to 1/2 cup of water. Mix it that way. So if you're adding the broth of 1 cup of broth, you do not add 1/2 cup of milk. Hope it makes sense. If you want to add the milk, just don't add the broth. Now, to adapt it for your feline friends, instead of using 1/2 cup of milk, non-fat milk, you would use 1/2 cup of tuna fish juice. I have made it exactly like that for felines as well. They absolutely love it. They smell the fish in it and they just eat it. Then you would cut it into desired shape. Then instead of cutting it into the shapes of bones, which I'm going to use a bone cookie cutter today for Shmoopie. But you can do any shape that you want. And if you don't want to do shapes for your smaller dogs or your kitties, you can cut them into little bite-sized pieces and bake them that way instead. And that way when you go to give them to your pets, they just have a little bite-sized piece. Again, the shape is entirely up to you. So let's get back to the recipe and get it rolled out. So we're still going to make sure we knead this very well to get our good ball to form. That looks just about perfect there. So you want to roll your dough out to about a 1/2 inch thick. And then we'll go ahead and get it cut. You'll be amazed at how many this makes. I honestly don't remember, so I'll have to let you know at the end of the video how many I get out of this. It's been a few years since I made these, and I really don't remember exactly the count. So that's about a 1/2 inch thick. Got my little bone cookie cutter here. Very cute. And this is what I said, you do not have to use a bone. You can use Christmas cookie cutters, birthday cookie cutters. You don't have to use any cookie cutter at all. You can just cut it into little pieces, little squares, and bake it that way. It's entirely up to you. But I just think the bone is cute, and of course it's appropriate. So here we have our little bone cookie. They smell really good. They smell like chicken and wheat. You can smell the chicken broth, but you can definitely smell the wheat flour as well. So I'm going to go ahead and get all of this done, the rest of the dough, and I'll be back. Okay, so here are all of our bones. This is the entire batch. So I got 32 of the bone shaped cookies out of it. Not bad, a little over 2.5 dozen. And this was just the leftover dough. So I just made it into no shape at all. Kind of looks like a chicken nugget. But we're going to bake that on there. Now you want to bake these, as you can see, they say to do them a 1/2 inch. Roll the dough to a 1/2 inch thickness. Sometimes it's really hard for me to do that. Most of them I've got them pretty well, but this was towards the end. And that one is definitely not a 1/2 inch. So when they're thinner like this, you have to watch them just a little bit extra. Don't let them go in the oven as long as, just keep an eye on everything. Make sure nothing burns. If one looks like it's done before the rest, just plop it off of the tray. Okay, so we're going to put our cookie bones into the oven. They're going to bake at 350 degrees for 30 minutes. But like I say, the ones that you just know are not a 1/2 inch thick, give them a little extra peek in between. They will get done before the rest. When they're done, just take them off of the tray, let the other ones continue to bake. But basically, 350, 30 minutes. And we'll be back when they're done. So they're all done, garden maters. So when they come out of the oven, they'll still be soft. Ooh. They smell really good. You know what? They taste really good. I know they're made for animals, but it's all natural ingredient. You could eat them too if you wanted to. You can definitely taste the wheat flour. A little bit of the chicken. Not bad. But we got to give it the true test, which is the Shmoopie test. See how she's going to like her cookie bones. Cookie bones, Shmoo. Oh, wait a minute. I think it's Shmoopie approved. She like them cookie bones. Oh, cookie bones. So I think Shmoopie likes them. One thing I forgot to mention. When you store these, you can keep them out for a few days, but it is best to put them in the refrigerator or even in the freezer. And then get them out in fall, right before you, about a half hour or so before you want to give them one or two. Because they are made of natural ingredients, the wheat flour and the egg and the milk and chicken broth, whatever you're using, it will mold. The cookies will mold in a couple days if you leave them out on the counter. So really best to leave them in the refrigerator or in the freezer, like I said, to prevent spoilage. But as you can see, they were definitely Shmoopie approved. She wants more, but she's not getting more because you're a little piggy. Gotta save some for Santa Claus. Give them to his reindeer or something. So that's it, garden mares. That's all there is to making what I call the Shmoopie bones. Like I said, the recipe is from a very old veterinarian magazine I used to get years ago. And they were originally called Bowser biscuits. But you could always change them to incorporate feline or canine. Again, use the beef broth or the chicken broth if you want to add the flavor. You could also put yogurt in there as well if you didn't want to use that. You could just add some plain old yogurt to it. That is also very good for the animals, especially the female dogs, because it helps with their urinary tract and keeps things going just like in humans. Always good to give your animals a little bit of yogurt. And again, if you're doing it for your feline friends, you could still use beef or chicken, but you could also use the juice from tuna fish. They love it just as much. Cut it in any old shape that you want. Now, depending on the shape that you cut, how big they are is how many cookies you're going to actually get out of it. But I do hope you give the recipe a try, not just for yourself, but for your furry friends. They deserve treats just as well as we do. If you decide to try the recipe, please let me know. Give me a comment below. Let me know how your furry friend likes the recipe. So if you haven't already subscribed, please do. I always encourage to. Love to watch the garden maters grow. And until next time, I love you all. Take care. God bless. And I'll see you on the next video.
Are you waiting for some cookie bones? I thought so. Are you a good girl? Do you deserve a cookie bone? Oh, you sure?